My friends, at 95 years old, I've learned something about headlines. The louder they appear, the more likely it is that the real story is hiding quietly underneath, waiting for someone with patience, someone who has lived long enough to see patterns repeat themselves. And tonight's headline is loud, almost theatrical. 1 minute ago, Trump loses fight to hide Epstein files. Greene explodes over Traitor tag. Now, that's the surface. But as always, the surface is the least interesting part. What truly matters is what this moment reveals about pressure, about power, and about the way truth eventually forces its way into the light, even when extremely powerful people try to bolt the door shut. Just a moment ago, a courtroom ruling shattered one of Donald Trump's most aggressive legal strategies. For months, his team pushed, argued, delayed, and maneuvered, all in an attempt to shield certain Epstein-related documents, names, communications, and associations from public release. They argued confidentiality, they argued privacy, they argued irrelevance. But the judge didn't buy it. The ruling was clear. The files are coming out. The nation will see what's inside. And for a man already balancing multiple indictments, civil trials, and political storms, this loss isn't just a legal setback. It's another weight dropped onto an already sinking platform. Now, my friends, I've spent a lifetime watching markets, leaders, and empires behave under stress. And when someone fights this hard to keep papers in the dark, it is rarely because the papers are harmless. Power never tries so desperately to hide something unless the truth inside it has teeth. And tonight, those teeth just broke through. That's why this story matters. Not because of the headline, not because of the noise around it, but because of what it signals. A door that Trump wanted sealed forever has now been cracked open. Meanwhile, on the political battlefield, another fire erupted, one involving Marjorie Taylor Greene. A member of Congress who is no stranger to conflict or controversy found herself under a new spotlight after being labeled a traitor by fellow Republicans. And instead of brushing it off, she detonated. Publicly, loudly, emotionally. She fired back with fury, calling out her own party, accusing them of betrayal, weakness, and hypocrisy. Watching her meltdown in real time revealed something deeper than frustration. It revealed a party yanking itself apart from the inside. When your internal battles become louder than your external enemies, you're no longer in control of the narrative. In nearly a century of life, I've seen political factions rise and crumble. And I'll tell you something, when a party starts calling its own members traitors, they usually aren't fighting each other, they're fighting fear. Fear of losing power, fear of exposure, fear of the next headline. Greene's explosion wasn't just anger, it was political panic, the kind that comes when public loyalty and private alliances no longer match. Now let's bring these two stories together. Trump's failed attempt to bury Epstein records and Greene's war against her own side. Two eruptions exploding at the same moment. You might think they're unrelated, but my friends, I've learned there are no coincidences when pressure builds at the top. Political stress behaves like market stress. It spreads, it intensifies, and eventually it spills out in unpredictable ways. The same week, Trump faces a new wave of legal exposure. Greene faces accusations of betrayal. The timing is telling. Both events paint a picture of a movement cracking under its own weight. Let's return to the courtroom. Trump's lawyers walked in with confidence and swagger, but they walked out with nothing. The judge's ruling was blunt. The public has a right to see the documents. And when judges say things like public interest outweighs privacy, they're sending a message. Transparency has been demanded, and accountability, whether someone likes it or not, is on its way. These documents don't just affect Trump, they will ripple across politics, business, entertainment, and more. Epstein's network was wide, and anyone linked to it, even loosely, knows the danger of sunlight. For decades, powerful people treated the Epstein scandal like a bottomless pit, a place where truth goes to be buried. But pits eventually fill. And tonight, one of the men standing on top of it just lost his footing. The attempt to hide the files wasn't strategic, it was survivalist. And the judge's decision wasn't bureaucratic, it was historic. Meanwhile, Greene marched into her own battle. fueled by rage and wounded pride. She wasn't calm. She wasn't collected. She lashed out, calling fellow Republicans frauds and liars, accusing them of poisoning the movement from within. To the casual observer, it looks like a tantrum. But to someone who has watched politics for a lifetime, it looks like fragmentation, the kind that destroys campaigns and reshapes entire parties. Every political movement faces a moment where its internal contradictions become too loud to ignore. Tonight, we witness one of those moments. Greene fighting her own party, Trump fighting the judicial system, and both losing ground. These aren't separate fires, they're sparks from the same storm. My friends, when powerful people cannot control truth anymore, they start blaming each other for the cracks. I've seen CEOs do it when companies collapse. I've seen families do it when fortunes evaporate. And now we're seeing politicians do it as the walls around them get tighter. Trump's legal defeats and Greene's outbursts are symptoms of a deeper problem. A movement struggling to hold itself together, while the truth they've tried to suppress pushes upward like water under pressure. Now, what comes next? That's the question I've spent a lifetime learning how to answer. When truth begins to leak, it never stops at one drop. Trump losing this fight means more information will emerge. More questions will be asked. More alliances will be tested. These files are the beginning, not the end. And people around him know it. Some will stay loyal, many will not. That is the nature of pressure. It reveals who is standing on solid ground and who has been balancing on borrowed time. As for Greene, her battle is not external, it is internal. The label traitor sticks because it came from her own circle. And her reaction didn't dismiss the label. It amplified it. When you scream at your own allies, you make your enemy's job easier. And when you accuse your own of betrayal, you announce to the world that your side is no longer united. For a political movement to survive, unity is currency. And tonight, the currency is running out. My friends, headlines tonight will talk about shock, explosions, courtroom drama, and political chaos. But the real story, the one I pay attention to, is the movement beneath the surface. Trump's power is being tested in courts. Greene's power is being tested within her party. And the truth they both fear is no longer hiding, it is knocking. What we're seeing is not a moment of noise. It is a moment of reveal. In all my years, I have learned that truth has a strange habit. It arrives slowly, then all at once. Trump losing the fight to hide Epstein files is not the end. It is the opening of a door he fought desperately to keep closed. Greene's explosion is not simply anger. It is the beginning of a political unraveling inside a party already weighed down by scandals, indictments, and internal distrust. These events will not disappear tomorrow. They will deepen, they will evolve, and they will drag new names into the spotlight. That's what truth does when it's been buried too long. It doesn't just surface, it pulls everything buried with it. And as I always say, my friends, when the truth finally comes up for air, it never asks permission.